Okay, Spanish omelette. Now, I've seen so many recipes for this omelette over here in America and back in the UK where they just simply dismiss it as eggs and potatoes. It's far from that. In fact, you've got to cook it, you know, in a certain way. And I've got some eggs here. I've got 4 eggs in there beaten. I've got okay, 4 of these small to medium-sized potatoes and some thinly sliced onion. Now, in this pan here, this is not a dish you can really throw together. It takes time, and you've got to be careful with it. And I've seen recipes where they simply saute or fry the potatoes in olive oil, fry some onions, and then pour some beaten eggs over it and let it set. Now that is not the Spanish omelette. This one I actually learned in Spain by watching. And many years ago I used to go to this. I used to go on vacation in southern Spain, and they have loads of these little beach bars, these little huts. And I would go and sit down at this hut, and I'd be fascinated by these old ladies cooking. And every day I'd eat, with a glass of beer, a slice of omelette, and some bread, as the Spaniards do. And I used to just watch how these ladies prepared this dish. And so after me badgering them, and of course I didn't speak any Spanish, didn't speak any English, but the owner then came over and showed me. What you're doing here is you're literally boiling the potatoes in the olive oil. So you get some very good quality olive oil. Put your potatoes in here, and you don't want them to fry in the traditional sense. That you don't want any colour on them. You want to cook them very gently in the oil, and they literally boil. And after about 20 or so minutes, they will have cooked, and they will start to break up. You get a little more olive oil in there. Now, I use this olive oil from this Italian Colavita, I think, if you pronounce it that way. I couldn't get any Spanish olive oil, but traditionally you'd want to use Spanish olive oil. But again, look, olive oil is olive oil to a certain degree, although Spaniards would tell me completely different, which of course they are entitled to because it's their oil. And obviously the ones I've eaten were all cooked with Spanish olive oil, but it doesn't really affect the taste too much. But again, I've got the heat here very, very low, and that oil is just going to basically boil those potatoes. And when they start cooking, I'll add the onion, because we don't want colour on this. We don't want a browned potato or brown onion, and that's why you've got to take care with the dish. And if you do it in this way, then you'll appreciate the taste, because all the oil is going to go into those potatoes. And you'll see when we finish it, we'll drain the oil. What we do is when we cook the potatoes, then we add them to the eggs, which has got some salt and pepper in here. With the potato and onion mixture gets drained, added to the eggs, and then we cook it back again, to colour it in the pan. So that's going to take about 20 or so minutes. And after about 5 minutes, I'll put the onions in. Okay, so Bobby here has asked me, how do you boil something in oil? Well, look, there it is. It's gently bubbling, and those potatoes will start to cook, and they won't colour. You'll see that when we bring it out. And really, it's on a very low heat. That oil will just bubble. And the reason we do it that way, and I've seen, again, low-fat versions of this, where they boil the potatoes in water, then they drain them and then they fry them. Now, yeah, look, we know that fat's bad when you have carbohydrate, but how much of this are we going to eat? We're not going to eat too much of it if we're on a low-carb diet. And what you're going to get here from this method is the flavour of the oil is going to be absorbed right into the potatoes. So that's boiling, and as I said before, that's going to take around 15-20 minutes. Those potatoes are just going to start to break up, and when they break up, they're ready. So we'll come back to that. And in about, as I said, 5 minutes, that's been going for a couple of minutes now, we'll add the onions in, and then you've got an oniony, flavoured olive oil that goes into the potatoes. It tastes delicious at the end anyway. And those of you who had a Spanish omelette in Spain will know. Those of you who had a substitute, well, if you do this, then you'll be in for a treat. Okay, so let's have a look at these potatoes now. The Spanish omelette, we can see they're starting to break up, haven't coloured, so that'll probably be about another 5-6 minutes. Okay, so the next stage in this is to drain the oil into a bowl and reserve it, keeping without, as I've done now, throwing all the potatoes in there, and the onions, which I can get back out in a second. And you are left now with the cooked potatoes, and as you can see, they haven't coloured. Very important that they don't. Now you may get some colouring if your potato chunks are big, so just reduce them, reduce the size if you make this for the first time. But that's it. I've allowed some oil, some onion to get into the oil, which I can strain back out in a second. I'll do that now.